Hello, good morning, friends. How are you all? My name is Harshit Dwivedi, friends, and I welcome you back to my video. In this video, friends, we are going to talk about Champaran Satyagraha of 1917 by Gandhi ji. Gandhi ji was the main person who, led this Champaran Satyagraha, and it was the first mass movement of Gandhi ji in India. He came back to in India from South Africa in 1915, and after that, he took a all India tour, and when he was called upon to come to Champaran to address the grievances of the peasants there, he came to Champaran, waged this satyagraha. This video, friends, I have already made in Hindi. So if you are not comfortable with English, you can go to the Hindi version of this video, the same video I made in Hindi, and you can have a look at it. So let's start with it. In this video, I'm going to discuss the Champaran Satyagraha, and I will also tell you about the Tin Kathiya system. Okay. Now, friends, just have a look. The European planters of Champaran, Bihar. Champaran is a place in Bihar. Indigo plantation was happening there, and this indigo plantation was forced on the Indian peasants. So these European planters, what they used to do, that for growing indigo, they used to force the Indian peasants to grow indigo on 3 by 20th of their land, and this 3 by 20 comes out to, the multiplied by 100, it will come out to around 15%. So the peasants were forced to grow this indigo on 3 by 20, that is 15% of their land, and this system was known as Tinkhatiya system. Now, why the peasants resisted that? The peasants resisted this because, first of all, the market rate, the rate at which the indigo was sold, it was very less, and the biggest buyer of the indigo was the government itself, because the government used it for its own purposes. That is why the government was forcing the planters to grow indigo. Okay, first was the thing was this. Second, that the British officials and the British administration, what they did, they gave the loan to the peasants to grow indigo on a very high rate, and obviously the amount realized after selling the indigo was very less to the farmer. Before growing up the indigo, he knew that if I am going to take up this cultivation, it will not be beneficial for me and I will be in huge loss. So he was very much reluctant towards growing indigo. But if he refused to grow indigo, his land was snatched away, heavy taxes were imposed on him. The whole administrative machinery was in the hands of Britishers. How can a poor peasant compete with him? So he was suffering from a lot of problem, friends. Okay. And second thing, one more thing you just need to keep in mind, that if a farmer on his land grows, say, wheat, barley, jowar, so if he is growing these type of things, then even if he is not able to sell those things, he can use those things to eat himself. That is, he can sell, he can cook it and eat it, so he will be self sufficient by it. Because if you are going to produce crops, like crop for eating, for example grains, if he is going to produce, he can use it for himself. But he is producing indigo, he has no option other than to sell this indigo, because for personal use, indigo was as good as nothing. So there was no personal use of indigo. So the farmers were suffering a lot. Now, why was this indigo used? Indigo was used to prepare dyes. But what happened at the start of the 20th century was that this Germans, they made an artificial dye, and this artificial dye was cheaper than the indigo. So due to this availability of artificial dye in the market, the demand for indigo reduced. Then came the World War One, which lasted from 1914 to 1918. Now, during this World War, Germany was involved in this in World War, and it was in a position of just losing. So this construction of German dye stopped, because obviously Germany was involved in a war, so availability of German dye in the market was reducing. So because of the reducing availability of German dye in the market, indigo cultivation again increased. Okay, because now the demand for indigo increased because German dye was not available. Okay, so obviously if the demand of indigo will increase, then the pressure on peasants and farmers will also increase. So the pressure was increasing on the farmers. Now what happened, that a person named Rajkumar Shukla and Sant Rao. This Rajkumar Shukla was a moneylender and also local peasant leader. He had some land, so he was severely affected by this Tin Khatiya system. So in order to solve his problem and the problem of other people, he went to Gandhiji and he persuaded Gandhiji to come to Champaran, Bihar, and address the grievances of the people of Champaran, the farmers and the peasants of Champaran. Okay, so Gandhiji accepted, initially refused, but he later on accepted and came to Champaran on 10th of April 1917. And he didn't came alone, he came with a group of eminent lawyers, some very famous names like Anugrah Narayan Sinha, Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kubash, Kishore Prasad, Ram Nammi Prasad, and J.B. Kripalani. So these were the people who came with Gandhiji, and these all were associated with the Indian freedom struggle, and they all are very famous names. So they're not normal people. They were actually very influential people. Okay. Now, as soon as Gandhiji arrived, this news spread like, a wildfire. People from all around the, all neighboring districts came flocking in because they were very much pissed off by the government. Nobody was listening to them. Neither money lenders, nor planters, nor the government. Nobody was listening to them. So they thought that some Mahatma has come from South Africa who to help them. And also, Gandhiji was little bit famous for his activities which he did in South Africa. Whatever he has done in South Africa, I have made a special video on it in both Hindi and English. You can go to my YouTube channel and watch that video. I will also leave a link of that video in my description. Okay, so people went to meet Gandhiji. Okay, now when Gandhiji was going to a district where a farmer had committed suicide because of this indigo planting, when this W.B. Haycock, who was the British district magistrate at that time, when he saw that this much mobilization is being done, he asked Gandhiji to immediately leave Champaran by the next available train. Gandhiji refused to comply. He defied the orders, and that's why the police arrested him. Now, Gandhiji was produced before a court on 18th of April, and he was said that if Gandhiji will leave the district and promise that he will not return to Champaran, the case which was instituted against Gandhiji will be withdrawn. This was the condition placed in front of Gandhiji. And obviously, Gandhiji was master at these things now because he had already learned a lot from South Africa. He said that I will not leave Champaran. I have come here to do services towards the suffering people of this region, and I am here for the sake of humanity. I am not doing any violence. I am not killing anyone, or I am not disturbing the law and order. I am just here to help these people, and I will not leave this place until I have solved the grievances of the suffering people in this district. Now, in this meantime, the support for Gandhiji was increasing because people were seeing that there is one Mahatma who has come to help us, and this British government is stopping him from helping them. So obviously, mass mobilizations were there. People were coming from all far off places to support Gandhiji. And as a lot of mass gathered, the British administration was getting nervous day by day. They saw that if Gandhiji is not released, there can be a heavy deterioration of law and order position. Okay. So what the British administration did, they released Gandhiji. Okay. And the case against Gandhiji was also withdrawn after 2 or 3 days. Okay. Gandhiji haven't agreed to the conditions. Okay. And Gandhiji was allowed to carry on his peaceful activities. So as soon as Gandhiji was, released, Gandhiji started his own activities. He started visiting many villages in the region. He studied the grievances of the people. He personally recorded the statements and testimonies with his fellow lawyers of 8,000 indigo cultivators to understand what was their problems and what were the causes of their problems. Just think about it, friends. Interviewing 8,000 people is not an easy task. It's a very tough task. It requires a lot of dedication, and Gandhiji had that dedication. And when the dedication of Gandhiji was in front of the British administration and British government, what the government made Gandhi a member of the inquiry committee, which was constituted to look into the excesses committed against the indigo planters by landlords and planters. Okay, so the landlords and planters, what bad they have done against the indigo farmers, of that committee Gandhiji was made a member. Obviously, when Gandhiji mass mobilized, a committee was formed by the government because government also needed to show the people that government is very much very much helpful towards the masses, towards the peasants. So a committee was made and Gandhiji was made a member of the committee. So committee submitted its report, and Champaran Agrarian Bill was introduced in the Bihar Legislative Council. This bill was passed and it received the assent of the Governor General on 4th of March 1919, and the Tin Khatia system was finally abolished. So this was basically the Tin Khatia system and the Champaran Satyagraha by Gandhiji, friends. It is a very useful part of our Indian history, okay, because Gandhiji was directly involved in it, and it was the first, movement, or you can say a type of Satyagraha. However, the word Satyagraha was not used during this movement. However, we say it as Champaran Satyagraha. Okay, so this was the first movement of Gandhiji in India, first non-violent movement where peasants won. And obviously the planters, the landlords and the government was on the losing side. So thank you for watching this video, friends. You can also watch it in Hindi. The Hindi version is already uploaded. And if you like this video, kindly give this video a like, and you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you want me to make a video on some specific topic, you can also tell me regarding that. Have a good day, friend.